I don't know why I'm telling you this, maybe to get it off my chest, maybe to warn you. Maybe because deep down, I know none of us will make it out of this alive. My name's Roland, and for the past 20 years, I've worked as a contractor for an organization known as Gray Key. Gather, report, intervene, and capture. If you've never heard of us, that's by design. We operate under the guise of a corporate sales consulting firm, helping businesses expand their networks. In reality, we hunt, contain, and, when necessary, eliminate things that have no business existing in this world. GRIC was founded in the late 1800s by a man who had a personal encounter with something that should only exist in nightmares. A Wendigo took his family, and rather than running, he dedicated his life to understanding, no, eradicating, these creatures. Over time, GRIC grew into something much larger, stretching across the country with 4 main headquarters, one in each corner of the United States. Sometimes the government calls us when they've got something they can't handle. Other times we find things no one should ever have to see. This job isn't for the faint of heart. I've seen things that keep me awake at night. I've hunted creatures whose names never made it into folklore, things buried so deep in history that only the earth itself remembers them. I thought I had seen it all. I thought I was prepared. I was wrong. A few weeks ago, the government reached out with an urgent contract. A group of researchers in Yellowstone had been drilling to install seismic sensors. Standard procedure, nothing unusual. But the ground beneath them gave way, revealing a cave system no one knew existed. Lucky for them, no one died in the collapse. Unlucky for them, they decided to go inside. 3 of them never came out. The 4th, a geologist named Dr. Langley, managed to crawl his way to the surface, torn to hell and barely breathing. His body was covered in wounds, but it was the look in his eyes that unsettled me most. Pure, unfiltered terror. He wasn't just attacked. He had seen something so horrifying that it broke him. Langley had a GoPro strapped to his chest. When the military reviewed the footage, they locked the site down immediately. That's when they called GRIC. They wanted a cleanup. Normally, a cleanup contract means dealing with small numbers. 8 creatures max. That's what I was used to, that's what I was ready for. But this time, the numbers didn't add up. The military ran thermal scans of the underground system. They didn't find a handful of creatures, they found thousands. Maybe even hundreds of thousands. A colony, an entire civilization of them, buried beneath our feet for millennia. The only way they could have survived that long was through cannibalism. They weren't the gnome-like creatures you see in fairy tales. No, these things were feral, twisted by centuries of darkness and desperation. Their skin was pale, almost translucent, stretched over sharp, sinewy frames. Their eyes were large, black voids, adapted for the pitch-black tunnels they called home. And their teeth, rows of jagged, needle-like fangs, stained dark from centuries of feeding on their own. The military's first idea was to smoke them out. That failed. The cave system was too vast, too deep. They had endless places to retreat. So it was up to my team. We came up with a plan. Go in, plant charges along our path, and collapse the tunnels behind us as we went. Seal them in for good. It was a sound plan, on paper. What we weren't prepared for was what happened next. I lost 4 men before we even realized we were surrounded. These things moved in absolute silence, no snarls, no footsteps, just the feeling of something being there, watching, waiting. By the time we opened fire, it was too late. The walls of the tunnel seemed to come alive, shifting as hundreds of them poured from the darkness. My team fought like hell, but the bullets barely slowed them down. The creatures swarmed, their claws tearing through Kevlar like it was paper. I saw Carter go down first. 1 second he was standing beside me, the next he was gone, pulled into the shadows. His screams didn't last long. Then Ramirez tried to use the flamethrower, but they were too fast. They climbed over each other, an unholy wave of bodies. They tore him apart before the fire even touched them. We ran. We had to run. I don't know how long we were down there. Minutes. Hours. Time lost all meaning. The tunnel stretched endlessly in every direction, a labyrinth of death with no way out. We were herded, pushed deeper and deeper into their nest. And that's when we saw it. The queen. She was massive, easily 15 feet tall, her body an amalgamation of writhing, sinewy limbs. Her eyes weren't black voids like the others. They were worse. They were intelligent. She saw us, understood us, and she smiled. I don't remember much after that, just pain, screams, the feeling of something sinking its teeth into my shoulder. I woke up alone. My gear was gone, my weapons stripped away, my team was gone. And now I'm sitting here in the dark writing this. My radio is dead, my flashlight is flickering, and I can hear them. They're close. I know I won't make it out. But if someone finds this, if anyone finds this, do not come down here. Do not try to rescue me, do not try to fight them. Seal this place, bury it, and pray to whatever God you believe in that they never find their way to the surface. I don't know how much time has passed since I wrote that last entry. Hours, days. Time doesn't exist down here. There's only the dark, the cold, the endless scratching sounds from somewhere just beyond my vision. I'm still alive, but I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. They haven't killed me, not yet. They're toying with me. I can hear them moving just out of reach, just beyond the dim glow of my dying flashlight. Every so often I'll catch the glint of their eyes, reflecting in the darkness. They're studying me, watching, waiting. Why? I've seen how they hunt. They don't hesitate. They don't waste time. They swarm. They consume. But not me. I think they're saving me for something worse. The Queen. She saw me. She understood me. That thought alone is enough to make my stomach churn. These things, they aren't just mindless creatures. There's an intelligence to them, something ancient and patient. I need to move. Staying in one place is a death sentence. My flashlight is fading fast, and once that's gone, I'll be completely blind. I have no weapons, no supplies, just my wits, and a single, desperate plan. There's only one direction to go now, down. I know how that sounds. I should be looking for a way up, a way back to the surface. But I've been wandering these tunnels long enough to realize the truth. There is no way back. Every path I take seems to loop in on itself, leading me back to the same damn place. They're leading me deeper. So I might as well go willingly. I keep thinking about the cave-in, about the seismic activity that brought these things to the surface in the first place. If there's one thing I've learned working for GRIC, it's that nothing stays buried forever. What if these things weren't always underground? What if something put them here? And what if I can find a way to do the same? If I can make it to the heart of their nest, to wherever these creatures originated from, maybe, just maybe, I can find a way to seal them in for good. Maybe I can finish what we started. Or maybe I'll just be the next body they pick clean. I don't know how long I've been walking. My legs ache. My breath comes in ragged gasps. My flashlight is dim now, barely more than a flicker, but I can still make out the walls. They've changed. No longer rough stone and jagged rock. Now they're smooth, carved. Something built this place. The tunnel opens into a massive chamber and I freeze. My stomach twists into knots. My brain refuses to process what I'm seeing. Bones, thousands of them. Humans, animals. Some I don't even recognize. They stretch across the cavern, stacked high into crude, towering structures. And at the center, a throne. Not carved from stone, but from skulls. The Queen sits atop it, her hollow eyes locked onto mine. She's been waiting for me, and she's smiling. She doesn't move, she doesn't attack. Instead, she speaks. Not with words, not with sound, with thoughts. A voice slithers into my mind, cold and crawling, filling my skull with whispers that make my teeth ache. The language is old, wrong, but somehow I understand. You are different. I don't respond. I can't. You have seen. You have hunted. You have taken. I grip my hands into fists, trying to keep my breath steady. You are like us. My stomach drops. My vision blurs. Something pulses in the back of my mind, a creeping, gnawing sensation like an itch I can't scratch. No, that's not possible. But then I remember, how many times have I done this? How many times have I hunted creatures that had no chance to fight back? How many times have I executed things just because they weren't supposed to exist? How many times have I looked into the eyes of something terrified and desperate only to pull the trigger? My breath catches in my throat. Oh God, what if we're not hunters? What if we never were? The Queen tilts her head, her grin widening. Welcome home, Roland. I want to scream, but the sound won't come. My throat is locked, my body frozen under the weight of her thoughts. A whispering tide of ancient knowledge, slithering into my brain, curling around my mind like roots strangling stone. Welcome home, Roland. No, 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 no. This isn't real. This is some kind of trick. A hallucination brought on by exhaustion, by hunger, by fear. I've seen creatures try to manipulate before. Mimics, sirens, wraiths that can pull memories from your skull and twist them into nightmares, but this is different. Because deep down, in the parts of my mind I don't want to acknowledge, something about her words feels right. Like a memory I had forgotten. Like something I've always known. She watches me with those black, intelligent eyes. She isn't just studying me, she's waiting. Waiting for what? And then I feel it. A slow, creeping sensation in the pit of my stomach. Not fear, not nausea, hunger. Deep, gnawing, insatiable hunger. I stumble back, my breath coming in short gasps. My legs are weak, my fingers tremble. I haven't eaten in God knows how long, but this isn't normal starvation. This is wrong. This is something else. The queen shifts, unfolding her long, sinewy limbs as she descends from the throne of bones. She moves like liquid shadow, smooth and effortless, her clawed fingers grazing the cavern floor. I force myself to speak. My voice is hoarse, barely above a whisper. What? Are you? She stops, tilts her head. You already know. I shake my head violently. No, you're lying. You're trying to. Pain explodes behind my eyes, a crushing, drilling force pushing into my skull. My vision goes white, my knees hit the ground. I clutch my head, gritting my teeth, trying to fight against whatever the hell she's doing to me. And then, memories, flooding, drowning, not my own. I see flashes of a time before light, before fire, before the surface world, an endless subterranean kingdom stretching for miles, for centuries, ruled by the first ones. Not men, not beasts, something in between, something forgotten. I see them, the creatures, moving through tunnels, hunting in the dark, thriving beneath the earth long before humans walked above them. They were not mindless. They were not monsters. They had order, purpose, a civilization. And then, the collapse. The world above changed. The land split, the mountains rose, and the deep tunnels that once connected them to the surface were sealed. Trapped. Their food supply ran out. They turned on each other. Survival through sacrifice. The weak were consumed, the strong endured. They lived in darkness, in silence, for thousands of years. Until now. Until us. Until we tore open the earth and woke them from their slumber. The visions fade, leaving me gasping, drenched in sweat. The queen looms over me now, her expression unreadable. Do you see? She whispers. I shake my head, even though I do. I do. They weren't monsters, they weren't the invaders. We were. We dug too deep. We ripped open their prison, disturbed something ancient, something that should have been left alone. I think of all the years I spent hunting things that weren't human. The creatures Grit called threats. How many of them were actually threats? How many were just trying to survive? And how many times did I become the monster without even realizing it? A sick, twisted feeling coils in my gut. I can still taste the hunger, raw and burning, gnawing at my ribs. The queen leans in closer. I can feel the cold of her breath against my skin. You are like us, Roland. That is why you still live. I shake my head again, more violently this time. No, I'm human. I'm not like you. She smiles. Not yet. The whispers surge again, flooding my mind, drowning me in memories that aren't mine. Visions of blood, of flesh, of feeding. My body convulses. My stomach twists into knots. Because I know. I'm starving. And the hunger won't stop. Not until I feed.